Hey guys, it's Cass with Cass Tea, and today I'm going to be showing you how to brew green or yellow tea. If you want to learn how to brew all the other teas like red, white, oolong, black tea, you're going to be doing it differently. In fact, to brew those kind of teas, use something called a gaiwan, which is just a bowl with a lid. We don't use that for green tea or yellow tea, and I'll explain why in a sec. But if you want to see our video on how to brew the other kinds of teas with a gaiwan, we have a video for you, which will be somewhere, it'll be at the end, so you can check it out. Now with green tea, we brew with these fairness pitchers. Okay, we don't use the gaiwan, and the reason for that is with green tea and yellow tea, we don't want to stew the tea. It's more delicate. If you stew it, it'll kind of get well, you know how vegetables get when you overboil them. We don't want that with our tea. Green teas and yellow teas take lower temperatures, more soft brewing techniques. So to do that, we use two pitchers. Now you can use anything. You don't need to use pitchers. You can use glasses. You can use, technically speaking, you could use a gaiwan. You just wouldn't put the lid on it, although that would make things really complicated. Don't do that. So we're gonna go ahead and use pitchers. Now, before we get into it, I have my green tea here. And this green tea is called Malfung. This is from Sichuan. It's pretty good. So to get started, we need to put our boiling water into our pitcher. Now, the amount of water, 300 milliliters is good. What I like about these pitchers is it actually has the labels of how much water to add, right? So 300 works fine. I might do a little bit because some of it's going to evaporate, because before we actually add our green tea in, we need to make sure that the water is the right temperature. If we add green tea or boiling water to green tea leaves right away, it's going to be too hot and it's going to take out all of the bitterness and astringency out of the tea, which is what we don't want. The perfect brewing of green tea will minimize the astringency and bitterness and bring out all the things that, well, we want, okay? So to cool it down, there's really a few ways. One, you can boil your water and just let it hang out. And obviously it will cool down a little bit. Or another way to do it is putting it in your pot and just kind of juggling the water between the two. And well, the benefit of that is pretty obvious, right? It cools it down, but it also pre-warms your cups, which means that when you go ahead and drink it, it's not going to be, bad. So the temperature that we're going for is 85 degrees Celsius, but I don't have a thermometer. You probably don't. And we want to learn how to do this in the most simple, easy way as possible. And we can do that with touch, so I'll teach you how. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is take our fairness pitcher here, and we're gonna fill it to about the 300 line, maybe a little more, somewhere in that range. This is just boiling, so it's very hot. So we got our water in. Now, if you touch this glass, it burns. It's really, really hot, obviously. So that's how you know that it's gonna burn the green tea. If you touch it right away and it's so hot you can't hold it for more than a fraction of a second, do not put your green tea in it. It'll become bitter. So now what we can do is we can just juggle it back and forth. And again, what you're doing now is you're warming up the teaware, but you're also cooling down the water. So in Chinese, these are called gong dao bei. Which means fairness pitcher. And the reason it's called fairness pitcher, if you brew green tea, or really any tea in like a gaiwan, you add your water, and there's like 6 cups, okay? You add water to the first, the second, the third. By the time you get to the sixth, the water had been in there longer, so that tea is going to be way stronger from the first cup. So they use fairness pitchers, Gong Dao Bei, in order to make sure, you know, you pour all the water in here, and then from here, where there's no tea, you pour it into the cups, that every person gets, well, equal flavor in the tea. So we just keep doing this until we get down to 85 degrees Celsius. And I know what you're thinking. How do you know that it's 85? Don't worry about that. We'll get to that in a sec. Just keep going back and forth. You know what? Let me grab a cup. We're going to need that. Here we go. And I got a strainer, which you don't need, but it will make it easier for you. Now, when I touch the glass, it's less hot, obviously. And I don't burn myself on it right away. Now, 85 degrees is basically the temperature where you can touch it and it won't burn you if you hold for 1 second. But if you hold longer than a second, it's gonna burn you. 1 Mississippi? Okay, that's about right. So now our water is the right temperature. Before we go on, what we're gonna do is wake up the leaves, but also smell, because dry leaves don't have much of a smell. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pour the water out one more time. Now this is humid, right? And now we're gonna add our green tea into this one. Give it a little shake. And then we can smell it. That's good. But yeah, the logic there is it just kind of wakes up the leaves, the humidity in there, makes all the aromas come out, you can smell it. Now comes the best part. We just pour our hot water in, kind of in a circular motion. We want to get all the leaves wet. And just wait. And you'll see that these little teeny thin leaves will start to plump up. Now green tea like this, you brew maybe about 2 minutes. It's pretty easy, right? You're just taking water that's not boiling but still pretty hot and pouring it in. You don't need to do the whole shaking thing. You don't need to pour back and forth. Just boil your water, turn the burner off, let it cool down for a couple minutes, pour it in, and wait 2 minutes. Now, where brewing green and yellow tea gets a little more, I don't want to use it complicated, but a little more involved, is after you brew it the first time for 2 minutes, you don't do it this way again. Basically, for the other brews, you just pour your water in and then dump it out right away. So that's good, right? You only have to do this waiting game the first time. Because the leaves are so dry, the water needs time to penetrate in them. Then when you drain it, then they're just ready to be hit with water. And you don't need to juggle anymore. You can just pour boiling water in after that and it's fine. There's a catch, but we'll get to that in a sec. You can see the leaves starting to puff up a little bit. We started out with like almost a black, like a dark jade green. And now the color you can see is starting to get vibrant and light. And you'll start to see it move, which is really cool. Give you a little bit of a better view. Now, as far as the strainer goes, again, you don't need this, but when we dump it out into the other pitcher, having a strainer can help, just so you don't get leaves in there. You want to obviously try to keep the leaves in here. Now with 300 milliliters, when we do our brewing, we can do that 3 times. So 1 serving of tea, which is 4 grams of green tea or yellow tea, you get 3 pitchers out of it. So what is that, 900 to 1,000 milliliters? You'll be fine after that. Now, here's the thing. You might be wondering, am I looking at a stopwatch? No. How do you know when your green tea is ready to be poured out? You don't need to watch your time. It actually might be more than 2 minutes now. It might be 3. It depends on the leaf. It depends on the water temperature. It depends on how dry the humidity is before you put the leaves in. 2 minute to 3 minute is just sort of an estimation. The way that you really know is just by looking at the leaf. And what you're looking for with a leaf to know that it's ready is it shouldn't look dry. So you can see how down here, some of these leaves still look a little bit too folded up, right? That means it needs more time. Once they're all kind of full and it looks alive and doesn't look dry anymore, that's how you know that you're good to go. Now, if you use hot water or water that's more hot than the water I cooled down here, then it's gonna go faster. If you use boiling water, it'll be really quick. And you'll also pull out a lot of that astringency, a lot of that bitterness. And you just leave it. You don't want to agitate it too much. If you start spinning it around or sloshing it, you'll start to oxidize it more. You don't want to do that. Although there are some teas that oxidize the broth. And that broth basically is the name of the tea liquor, the tea, without the leaves. So you can see we're starting to get closer. It still looks a little bit dry down here, but they're starting to plump up. This is kind of the best part too, is just watching it unfurl. Or putting water in, walking away, and you come back, just like this giant green mass. It's really pretty. So yeah, this looks pretty alive now, I guess I would say. Doesn't look too dry, the leaves look pretty plump. So we're gonna drain. So we have our second pitcher here on standby. It's still a little bit warm, which is good. You can use this or not, I recommend using it. And then you strain. Now the important part, this is critical, don't strain all the way, whatever you do. You want to leave some of the liquid in there, okay? You want to leave enough liquid in there to cover the leaves. Here, look. See that? There's just enough that the leaves are covered. Not too much more than that. That's really, really important, okay? The reason that you do that is because if we drain the leaves all the way, then it's going to start oxidizing. We don't want that. We want to keep the leaves submerged with a nice protective layer. And what's also going to happen is the brew is going to gently diffuse. I say gently because there's not enough water in here for it to really disrupt the leaves for future brewings. So anyway, yeah, we have our green tea now. Take our cup. And we enjoy. You'd also pre-warm the cup if you wanted to. That's good. Really smooth, no bitterness at all, but still has complete flavor and complete aroma to it. That's really what you want. Green tea can get really bitter, especially some varieties of it. This, not at all. Now, had I done this at way higher temperature or done it longer, it would be bitter. But right now it's perfect. Very sweet, really smooth. The aftertaste is great. With this one, has a sweet, lingering aftertaste. And also, what's crazy is this one actually has some like cinnamon kick to it. Like just a little bit on the tail end. Who knew? And we got it ourselves. We went to the top of Mengding Mountain in Sichuan over 1,000 meters up and bought it there, brought it back. All right, that's enough sales pitches. Let's get to the important part, which is doing your second and third brewing, which changes everything up. Everything you just learned, forget. Well, don't forget, you'll need it, but not for the second and third brew. So I'm gonna go ahead and unfortunately dump this brewing here, make some room. There we go. Okay, so for our next brew, we have our water. It's really hot, either boiling or mine's in a kettle, so it's still like super hot, it's insulated. Now for this brew, time has gone by, right? But the tea leaves are still in the water, so they're gently diffusing, okay? So for this next brew, we don't need to let it, well, sit there for 2 minutes because it's already been opened up. The water will go in and it will pull from the leaf. The inside of the leaf isn't dry anymore. And that's kind of the same thing with a gaiwan. When you have a gaiwan, your tea goes in, your water goes in. The first time you flush it, and then the tea leaves are kind of awake. And then every brewing, you only brew it for like 3 seconds because it's already, the leaf has opened up. So when fresh water comes in, well, the tea leaf tries to find an equilibrium, which lets out the water-soluble flavonoids and all this stuff in there, aromatics and bitterness, all that. It goes right out into the water, and then you can drain it. So same thing here. Leaves are opened up. We're going to put the hot water in. And then we wait a few seconds and then strain it. So let's do it. Again, we're going to aim for the 300 millimeter line. One quick thing before I do this. If you're good, if you have this kind of like gooseneck kettle, or even, you know, if you do it this way where you pour the water in here from like your stovetop and then pour it in, you want to aim for one spot near the edge. So I might aim for like here, and you keep the stream there, and what will happen, this is great, is it will cause the leaves to roll, to spin. And what that does is it gently mixes it. So that's what you want to aim for. So watch that happen now, hopefully. All right, there's that roll. See it rolling? It's spinning like a bicycle tire. 300 milliliters. And then we can drain it right away. But again, leave a little bit of water at the bottom to cover the leaves. And there we go. We have our next infusion. Hopefully it's as good as the first. Let's try it. It should even be better. The second is usually the best infusion. You see how simple that is? And that little spin there just looks really beautiful, and yeah, why not? All right, let's give this a try. Yep, that's good. No bitterness, very little, if any, astringency. Sweet, a little bit of a cinnamon hit there, like I said before. Yeah, it's really good. Now, it's really important that you don't let that steep too long when you add your next batch of water in, because then it will get too bitter. Because the second is always the strongest. So keep that in mind. All right, now we're going to do our third. So let me just dump this. All right, so the third infusion works the exact way that the second does. Nothing changes. We just fill it up to 300 milliliters. Aim for that. Spin it by pouring the water in one spot. Yeah, and then you strain. Let's do it. Now this time we can actually just dump it all out. Because by the third infusion, the leaves are spent. Dead. Yeah, so it's dead now. So we can get rid of that. And we'll give this last one a try. Now here's the thing. I'm doing this in a video, so it's over kind of a short period of time. But if you were doing this, for real, it would probably take you a little bit of time to finish one of these. So what that means is when you do like your second or third brewing, the tea at the bottom there would have a little bit more time. So you can either drain it faster, or if you like it a bit stronger, then, well, you're going to get it a little bit stronger anyway. But let's give this a try. Yep, it's good. The second brew is always the best. So, for your third brew, you can either, let it stand for like 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. I think when I did it, if you slowed down the footage or go back, it was probably maybe about like 8 seconds, which is good. Just dump that real quick. So yeah, as you saw, it's really easy to brew green and yellow tea. We don't use the gaiwan. We use these fairness pitchers because we don't want to stew the tea. So to just go through the steps again, it's really simple, right? You pour in 300 milliliters of water. You juggle between until it's hot, but not hot where if you touch it, you burn yourself right away. You should be able to hold it and then let go without burning yourself. If you hold it longer than 1 second, it will burn you. So don't. But 1 second, that's perfect. Put your dry leaves into the cup that's empty, shake it, smell it, pour in your water, 300 milliliters, right? You wait 2 minutes, strain it, drink it, and then for your next 2 infusions, you just pour the water right in and drain it right away. 2 to 10 seconds, somewhere like that. So yeah, pretty easy. By the way, I should mention that the tea that you saw in this video, this Malfong, which is really good, we have on our website. You can check it out. And also these pitchers, these Gong Dao Bays, we sell on our website as well. To brew green tea, you need 2 of them. So yeah, go to our website and you can check them out. I really like these because they're well made, they're hardy, they have the milliliter numbers on them, so it makes brewing really any kind of tea super easy. And they're just cool. A lot of times with teaware, it's kind of like fancy and frilly. We don't like that. So yeah, you can check that out. Other than that, if you want to learn how to brew with a gaiwan, which is this lidded bowl, that's how you do like oolong, red tea, stuff like that. Well, check out the video here. You'll be able to jump over and watch that video. Hopefully you find it helpful. Yeah, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe so that way you can see all the videos that we put out. And I'll see you guys next time.